I got breaking news for somebody. That breaking news is but God. The headlines say, but God. I don't know what's happening in your marriage, but I do know this, but God. I don't know what's happening in your health, but I do know this, but God. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but one thing I do know is I'm going to be waiting for but God to come through. And when it comes through, you might as well prepare to be mad at me, because I'm going to give him a praise. I'm going to give him the honor. I'm going to give him the glory. But God, you gotta know. You gotta know two things. You have to know that the devil almost had his way with you. You gotta know that. He almost had his way with me. I almost believed the lie. I almost let it break apart. He almost had his way with me. But God claimed me. God sent angels after me. God sent a word for me. Because I am God's territory. I am God's territory. That's why the enemy couldn't have his way with me. I was God's territory and didn't even know it. So God had to show me when I was in agreement with the enemy. I wish we could have real talk in here. I was in agreement with the enemy. I liked what he liked for me. I loved what he loved for me. I was in agreement with the enemy. But God brought me to myself. Like the prodigal son, God brought me to myself. And all of a sudden, I had to break covenant with the enemy. I had to break covenant with the thing that I once loved, because I recognized that what I loved was killing me. Have you ever loved something that you knew was killing you? Killing your hope, killing your peace, killing your confidence, killing your wholeness. But I loved it anyway. Ephesians says that even though we were dead because of our sins, he gave us life when he raised Christ from the dead. I was caught up, but God conquered the thing that had me caught up. I gave God permission to conquer the thing that had me caught up. Woo. You gotta give God permission to conquer the thing that has you caught up. Woo. Deliverance. Because when you give God permission to conquer what the enemy's trying to kill, my Bible tells me that you will go from being dead to alive. Even though we were dead because of our sins, he gave us life when he raised Christ from the dead. So you want the confidence to conquer comes when we recognize that we have been conquered by God. We were bound, claimed by the enemy, at work with what the enemy was doing in our lives, and all of a sudden, but God came and conquered us. You have to have this as the foundation of what you believe, that you have been conquered as a territory. And because you have been conquered as a territory, you now have a responsibility to become a conqueror. It's important that you understand the full depth of how you were bound, the full weight of it, the full pain of it, the full detriment of it, so that you can understand the strength that God exerted when he freed you, when he allowed you to have access to another life. Because there ought to be such gratitude from how you were bound, from how you were dead, to how you're now alive, that you want to see somebody else experience that same level of freedom. That's why I know some of you don't want to talk about your trauma. You don't want to talk about your past. You just want to move on, forget like that. Honey, that will never be my testimony. I want to remember what I got delivered from, so that when I praise, I'm not just praising God for now. I got a 20-year-old praise on the inside of me. I got a 30-year-old praise on the inside of me, because I understand exactly how bound I was. And the Bible says that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Let me tell you why you need to make sure that you fully understand that you are a territory called to take territory, called to conquer. Because if the enemy can't keep you from recognizing that you have come alive, he's realizing that the next step for you is that you're going to start conquering other things. Oh, God, please help me. In my text, once Peter comes to this space of revelation with Jesus, and he understands who Jesus is, Jesus tells him, now that you understand this, I'm going to put you in position to be a conqueror. I've conquered a mentality that you had, and now you understand who I am. And because you understand who I am, I'm going to send you out to conquer other people. That's the Great Commission in Acts 1. I'm going to send you out into the earth that you will be my witness. What am I a witness of? I'm witness that he conquers. I'm witness that he breaks chains. I'm a witness that he restores and he redeems. And I'm going to be your witness wherever you send me. And he says, I'm going to give you keys. The enemy does not want you to recognize that you have been conquered and that you are a conqueror, because conquering is contagious. When I see you overcome, when I see you overcome what the enemy threw your way, when I see you get victory, all of a sudden I think I can do it too. I start to believe that the same God that did it for you can do it for me too. Conquering is contagious. Misery loves company, but so does conquering. Conquering loves company too. That's why I try to make sure that I get around some fellow conquerors, because when I start seeing that you are more than a conqueror, I start wondering if I can be more than a conqueror too. That's why you got to be careful who you sit next to in this service, because you may be letting depression bully you. You may be letting depression say your name over and over again, but all of a sudden somebody will release a praise and you won't even recognize that that praise had to hop over their depression. It had to hop over their anxiety. It had to hop over their shame in order to be released. And if you can release a praise that hops over your anxiety, then maybe I could release a praise in the middle of this divorce, in the middle of this pain. Maybe I could hop over it too and still believe in the goodness of God. Maybe I could hop over it too and still believe that he can do exceedingly and abundantly. Conquering is contagious. Your children need to see you conquer some things. Your mother needs to see you conquer some things. Your community needs to see you conquer some things, because conquering is contagious. Exposure is everything. And if you don't make your life about conquering something, you will leave a generation bound to a way of thinking that they are not supposed to be bound to, only because someone was not willing to conquer in front of them. I need you to conquer with an audience. I know you want to wait until you get results before you show what God is doing in your life, but I need you to be bold enough to let somebody see you get suited up for battle. I don't know what the end is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to come out bleeding, but I want you to watch this, because he that began to work in me is about to deploy me for the the front lines, and I'm going to swing my best shot, and I'm going to go after every territory with my name on it. And I may get bruised, and I may get scarred, but I'm going to conquer again anyway, because I don't believe that there's going to be a day that he'll leave me. I don't believe. I'm nervous, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm afraid, but I'm going to conquer it anyway. I'm going to conquer my fears, and I'm going to conquer the territory. I don't have what it takes, but I'm going to conquer it anyway. God says that he'll supply all of my needs. I'm going to put myself in a position where I have a need so that I can access his supply, because I got a territory. Please receive your identity as a conqueror. Please receive it. Please hold on to it. Look back over your life after all the things that God's brought you through. Yes, we sang that earlier. Recognize that it made you a conqueror. Receive that as your identity. You are more than a conqueror. This is your inheritance. You conquer. And you did not just barely make it. The lamb was slain before the foundation of the earth. It only feels like you barely made it, but you making it was always a part of his plan. It was never an option for God. It was only an option for you. You did not barely make it, because sometimes when we barely make it, we think, I can't be a conqueror because I barely made it. But baby, a win is a win. You better ask somebody. A win is a win. It may have been a bloody win. I may have missed by a margin, but I came through on the other side anyway. A win is a win. You gotta know this. Because the enemy is after your identity as a conqueror. Because if you do not believe that you are a conqueror, you will not try to take territory. You will not believe that you have what it takes to take territory. This is why I think Jesus says, I'm going to give you keys to the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is a territory. But because you know who I am, I'm going to give you keys to this territory. Oh, God, help me. And your job is to use these keys to establish the kingdom of heaven and to bring people into the kingdom of heaven. But you can't do that if you don't think you're a conqueror. Because the enemy is after your keys. And if you don't think you're a conqueror, the enemy will take your keys. The enemy will tell you that your gift won't work, not realizing your gift are your keys. That your testimony is embarrassing, because your testimony are your keys. It's not just a gift, it's not just a talent, those are your keys. That's what God's going to use for you to open the door to allow someone else access. I'm giving you keys to the kingdom of heaven. Some of us have many keys. Sometimes it's my testimony. Sometimes it's my personality. Sometimes I got many keys. Sometimes it's my gift. It's my academia. Sometimes it's my finances. It's a key. It opens the door to allow people access to the kingdom of heaven. It's just the key. That's just the key. The key doesn't even matter. It's what they get access to. The key is what God is using to give them access. The key is what God is going to use. It's not just a song. It's a key. It's not just a job. It's a key. It's not just a talent. It's a key. This is a key. My marriage is a key. My life is a key. I'm meant to grant someone access to the kingdom of heaven. But if the enemy convinces you that your keys won't work, you'll be alive, but you won't be a door. You'll be alive, but you won't be a gate. I was talking to my friend Shaprisha. I call her that because it's Chat GPT. I feel like it's more classy when I call her Patricia. And I asked her if she'd make a picture for me. Can I show you the picture? I want you to see what it looks like when you've got keys that the enemy is after. In my text where it talks about the gates of Hades shall not prevail against the kingdom of heaven, I want you to understand that for each of us, we have been given keys. And if you look at this picture, you will think that the enemy is after the people. The enemy is not after the people, because the people are only powerful because of their key. The enemy is after the key, because if the enemy can lock you up, if the enemy can lock the kingdom of heaven up, it will not be advanced. I came here to let someone know that your mission in earth is to protect the key that God has given you. God has given you a key for your community, for your generation, and you have to be willing to protect your keys. Don't drop your keys. Don't drop your keys. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be easy to give up on your dream. It's going to be easy to give up on your talent. The enemy is going to convince you that it won't work and it has no weight. But I came here to tell you that that key is the only way that somebody's going to get into heaven. Don't depend on somebody else doing it. I want you to understand that the only way the industry changes, the only way the community gets better, is if somebody is willing to use their key. I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven, and it's going to grant access. And then he says, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. This is a part of what you get when you get access. As a conqueror, you have the ability to establish the kingdom of heaven. You have the ability to make sure other people get in. You have the ability to establish it in places where you have been sent and been called. But I also want you to know that these keys allow you to bind on earth what has been bound in heaven. Let me say that in a way that breaks it down a little bit. If it's bound in heaven but loose on earth, that's a problem. Okay, all right. Okay, my text says, and I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. And sometimes we read that and we think that what we bind on earth will automatically be bound in heaven. That's not how it reads if you read in the original manuscript. The original manuscript suggests that what is bound in heaven needs to be bound on earth. Oh, God, help me say it real good. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will have already been bound in heaven. So you got to be willing to ask yourself, is something running on the loose on earth that has been bound in heaven? Is there something running loose in your family that could never run loose in heaven? Is there something running loose in this country that could never run loose in heaven? Because God says, I'm going to make sure my people have keys to bind on earth what has been bound in heaven. I don't think the angels walk around depressed. I don't think the angels walking around feeling inadequate, but it's running loose on earth. But somebody got keys to bound what's loose on earth so that it can be bound the way it's supposed to be bound in heaven. Sometimes you got to bind up your own mouth. Sometimes you got to bind up your own thoughts. That's why we bring every thought into captivity, because if this thought can't exist in the heavenly realms, it can't exist in my head. I'm trying to become more like God. I'm preparing for the moment He takes me up. I'm practicing on earth. So I bind every thought from the enemy. I bind every plan of the enemy that's running rampant in my life, and I don't bind it in my own power. I take out my keys, the keys that I have, because I have a revelation of who Jesus is, and that revelation tells me that depression is not my portion. I'm going to the therapist because some things need to be bound. I'm backing away from the table because some things need to be bound. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. We can't be friends no more, because anytime I get around you, I get a little too loose, and I'm in a season where some things need to be bound up on the the inside of me. I'm sorry, but I got some binding to do. I got some binding to do. Somebody, you done got a little loose. You done got a little loose in your ways. You done got a little loose in your thoughts. You done got a little loose in your actions. And you feel like, I don't know how to get bound again. I don't know how to get tight again. I don't know how to get focused again. But I hear God saying, I'm going to bind up your eyesight so all you see is me. I'm going to bind up your mind so your mind is set on things above. I'm going to bind up your language so you speak what I speak and you think what I think and you move the way that I move. I'm going to bind up what's been running loose in your life.